Welcome back to episode 12. And for this episode, we have some breaking news. You might see here something that you haven't seen in my previous episodes, and that is because I upgraded my world to 1.21.4. I was previously stuck on 1.21, really an awkward version to start with, mainly because Liberty's villagers, the village management mod, won't update beyond 1.20. 1.21, excuse me for my tongue twisters. And we have a little happy ghost. That is because I installed a mod that would backport the happy ghost to 1.21.4. So now I have all the cool new features that Minecraft is talking about in my world. How did I resolve the villager management problem, you might ask? And that is because I found something called the Liberty Villagers Revived, and that would allow me to use village management in this version as well. Hey, hello villager. Look, I can see where they are walking and where their job site is. So really convenient. Of course I can see where every block is, which is also convenient. And now I have pale oak, and now I have this very cool block over here. But to be honest, this looks a bit, this will make Lithos look dirty because I built it all with diorite. So if we head up to Lithos up there, I mean this is modded diorite, but where's my planks? If I use the planks version, because they are going to make diorite seem very dirty, so it probably will not be wise for me to use these a lot for the bulk of Lithos. So I came up with a little solution to use this in North Lithos. North Lithos, actually I might want to bring my gosling with me because this is like in the middle of nowhere. Sorry, I have to dry you up. I'm so sorry. Yes, I was trying to play music to break you and plop you on Lithos because that's where I'll be working, you know. I will show you North Lithos in a little bit. I built it, most of it, before I actually started YouTubing. So unfortunately I wasn't able to show you the crazy work that went into it. So I'm just gonna unload my stuff. Fortunately, I think I did save space for extra block. I don't know why this is here. I mean, I was gonna make that pale oak because the coral will go with the sea elements. So now we have a new home for our pale oak. It's time to get ready to head out to Lithos because I have cool stuff I want to show you there. So because I am a lazy person, let's directly go through the portal. Oh man, portals are slow. I wasn't on camera for time. What I was saying is I might eventually build a ghost farm because goslings are so cute, you know? And I just adore them. And why did I use the word adore? North Lithos is a pretty agricultural place. Pale oak would fit in like the best thing ever. And this is where I get all my wool, if you're curious. I have a sheep pen for all the colors of sheep. They are raised humanely. The warm colors are on the other side. Of course, what do you expect? Of course, they are ruins. And we have the buildings over here. And we have a small wheat farm and place to store excess wool. Wheat farm, carrot farm to feed ourselves and to feed the sheep. And a few buildings scattered here and there. Excuse me. But this is North Lithos. I'm very excited to expand into the flower forest because there will be a flower-based industry and that would look super cool. But that is the very, not exactly brief, intro that I was a bit too excited to articulate properly. And now we're gonna hop back to do today's portion of. After this, I was following Blazed MC's tutorial to build a ghost farm because we really want a large surplus of ghost tears, and gunpowder will also be appreciated even though I'm not allowed to use fireworks in the urban district. But at least, hey, we can do fun stuff with TNT if we wanted. We can make fireworks to celebrate if we wanted. There's a lot more freedom because right now gunpowder is still kind of scarce. So let's get this farm in so we get done with the gunpowder problem, shall we? Almost close to the Lithos Citadel, and we are ready to start our project of this episode, which will be a wealthy manor for the governor of Lithos. So we are dangerously close to the CBD area. We would have to decorate this area down here, but hey, there's an easy ladder to climb up and down. And our happy guest has grown up, so I'll parkour over to show you. Here she is. Since I am actually using a mod to implement the happy ghost because one is only compatible up to 1.2 and 1.4, so this happy ghost is actually a modded happy ghost, but hey, at least she looks cute. And hey, you see me riding it. It gets a bit glitchy when I try to stand on the happy ghost, but yeah, I'm inside it. It's fun. I can take a little test flight around this area. I mean, to be honest, this is the only area I have in Lithos that's reasonably reasonably big, I was saying. Yeah, it's a bit glitchy to have the happy ghost in it. So there she is. And for the manor, I'm actually trying to follow the build pattern here, so I can almost compile sort of a build history. Like people used to put, say, direct walls on the columns instead of using full blocks because that would look more slender and graceful in a way, I would say. There is this sort of, so I do have to do this area later. But this episode will be a packed one since the manor is 4 buildings. I mean, I was doing this off camera because I didn't think this would be good content for episode until now. But at least we have this tower done, so it's one less thing off this episode. Otherwise, this episode is going to be 3 hours long and that would be impractical. But we started a building here. And we're using a new window design, which might go into my shorts soon, but this window design will be able to let in a lot of light and make the building look very slender, which is what I'm opting for here since the building needs to look graceful since an important person is gonna live here. I always forget Steve Slate. And we're out of there, right? So this is the south building, this is the east building, that's the north building. So 3 buildings have to go up. The north building is the main one, which is gonna be where the governor themselves live. I don't want to gender them, but hey, at least it's a decent place. We need a restock on some stairs. And some deep sleep. I am essentially camping here because this is reasonably far away from there. It's just annoying to get up here. And we're actually surprisingly close to the Royal Summer Palace, which is that building there, which I built unfortunately off camera. My life, and now my life is so much better. I'm actually so freaking grateful. And over here we can actually see the castle from episode 12 in the distance. Man, I love distant horizons for this exact reason. Seeing that castle makes me happy for some reason. Like, it's not the grandest of castles, but hey, at least it's a castle with some unique character. And that's better than no castle. I am still yet to finish the terraforming of the enchanted forest. But hey, at least it's visibly green from here. I don't know why Distant Horizon renders this part better than this part, but I think it's the transparency issue with Distant Horizons. But it is supposed to be a custom-made biome over there. So there's a lot of exciting stuff that's going on, and one of the reasons why I did not realize that this could be a good episode content was that I was just so, almost I would say, distracted out of the hell from Minecraft, because and trying to maintain a Minecraft channel while doing schoolwork seems to be a mixture of recipe for disaster. So I was like, okay, I'm going to minimize the time I spend recording because I need to get my schoolwork sorted. And I'm telling you that I am going to say one of the infamously academically rough schools. So this is especially an issue for me. I might reveal my school later, but it's pretty famous, and it's famous for being very hard. So schoolwork, I'm almost through with doing a big exam, so I'm like, let me not burn myself out before the big exam. So I am like chilling a bit right now because I actually want my sanity during the exam, because if I lose my sanity I'll be sad, because then I can't think through my not differential equations, but multivariate. Bad, because I am losing very silly marks to not being able to think straight, so I don't want that to happen to me in my next exam. So I'm like, sanity is my priority for now, and doing that. So hopefully I do well at it. I mean, I am inevitably a bit anxious about the exam. So that's the update from me. We're running short of walls. In my head, there is an argument between whether it is called vertical slabs or it's called walls, because hey, it looks like a vertical slab to some extent, if you think hard enough about it. There's a lot of building, and I'm just gonna time lapse the rest of this build because it's pretty much repetitive from up here, and I'll see you when this building is done. done with this building, except that the roof looks a bit jarring and I plan to replace the outline of the roof with deep slate, so let's do that together very quickly. Because the outline of the roof is supposed to be black. But I was like, okay, the white goes here, okay. So I didn't know what I was doing. But now it's time to start brainstorming ideas for the next build. So this one is designed to be okay. This one is designed to be, I think, a working area. Totally don't have enough blocks to do this. I was silly. Silly me. This is supposed to be a working area. So the roof is fixed. And now if we look down, the big rectangle is gonna be the main house where the governor actually lives, and the small one is going to be a guest house, which will be shorter, which will actually be, let's say, first floor should be stables. So kind of like a stables garage kind of thing. So the guest house will be on stilts, if that's the word. English is not my first language. The first layer is gonna be raised up, and there will be, let me think, we gotta keep the style consistent, so I'm just gonna do this and do this. And let's create 2 partitions for the horses to be. There is a horse accessible way to get down to Lower Lithos. This is actually on the edge of Lower Lithos, but if you remember the path I keep going up when I'm going to Upper Lithos, that is the path that is horse accessible, so the horses can go through, no worries. Of course, the iconic windows stay, and these bottom ones get replaced with their deep slate counterpart, because basalt and deep slate aren't the best things to mix, in my opinion. Black stone and basalt works great, because basalt has this purpley tint to it that deep slate does not have, because deep slate is very like straight up dark gray, I would say. So this is much better. Now let's create the stilts. Let's make it the same height, and then deep slate, then same thing. Basalty, because I want to save on material, because material ain't free. What was I doing? Oh dear. Please no powder snow. You see there's a bit of powder snow down there because this used to be a powder snow patch, but since powder snow is like the bane of a lot of things, cats, villagers included, so I was like using a water bucket to remove the powder snow. I mean, I still know where there are more powder snow for me to harvest if I need to, but that powder snow, it's gotta go. Let's get some more bricks in here. add the walls again. This is very taxing on our supply here. I mean, I have more down the mountain, so sure, but still it's taking up so much stuff. So I want the lower layer to be actually better ventilated because there will be horses in them. I don't need this. I haven't done buildings that are such tightly joined together in a while, to be honest. I will hop in a time lapse after I get the general of this building planned out because it's pretty new experience for me to do stables as like a equivalent of a garage of a building. So I'm just taking time to experience this with you all together. This definitely needs to be supported because these supports are so thin. But hey, it'll be fashionable, right? Because it'll be like, okay, I have the money to make my house be stable even with those thinner supports. So I'm rich. It's almost like a flex, if you get what I'm saying. So I think I used up all of my wood to make ladders. So that'll have to be a to-do I was about to create fences that horse could be leashed onto. The other problem is how to get upstairs. This is such an awkward problem. Because there's the stairs here, but we don't want the guests to use the main office as the stairs. So I don't want it to take up too much of the garden space. So we're actually gonna cut in with the stables and we're gonna make this stable smaller. Just so we can have the stairs to get up there. It's like a garage, there's a big stable that can fit 2 horses and a small stable that can fit 1. That sounds pretty reasonable, so let's keep it. And now we're gonna do a floor design. I did like so many floor designs recently. What was I doing? I didn't know what I was doing. It's supposed to be this way. This probably ought to go. And then we do the center. Yep, and that's like a reasonable floor design for the guest's house. So the rest of it will be pretty repetitive and will be very similar to how I did the office. Why did I leave a nerd pose up there? Oh, nerd pose. Nerd pose, nerd pose. Always ready to hunt down a nerd pose because they break the aesthetics of buildings so much. Or it might just be my OCD, but they really look annoying. Now that looks like what a building is supposed to look like. So now it'll be time-lapse mode because I'm gonna finish the top of this building now. because the snow issue is literally driving me insane. Now that I'm on 1.21.4, which means that string duping is dead, it means very much so that dealing with all the snow that covers my paths is a bit of a nightmare. And I don't like using path blocks because they don't match Lithos aesthetic, let's say. So I kind of had to just turn snow accumulation off to save my sanity, let's put it this way. And I'm generally happy that I made the change because it's creating much less headaches than what I expected this to create. Oh crap. Now there's an airport flowing up in the air. Great. Okay. We lost so much health. Yes, it's snack time. And now it's also time to plan out what this building would look like. So it's obviously going to be much more majestic than the other two buildings. I'm going to expect a higher first floor height, in fact. No, that would just look ugly. Okay, we're sticking with the same first floor height, but this building is going to be 3.5 stories tall, which means that it's going to have a loft. But first, let us do the floor. We are running pretty short on materials right now, but this thing is almost done, so I am not at all pissed about this. Pretty happy that this is all coming together very nicely. Still have to make the floor out of basalt because basalt is a convenient resource. Okay, we probably don't have space to do the second floor, in fact. So after I place down the basalt, we can take a trip together to see to check out the path that brings us down to Lithos. Doing this floor is taking much longer than I expected it to. Yeah, that does it for the floor. Now let's see what we actually need. Diorite we don't need. Deep slate we do need. So deep slate, basalt, what else on our shopping list? And wood. Okay. Let's just fly down this. That's the easy way down. Yeah, hey, that's a nice castle. Ow. Yeah, I got a skeleton horse off camera. Deep slate, we need maybe a bit more than this. Basalt we need. That's probably enough basalt. Diorite we're fine with, and we need some wood, so. That's enough logs. I will show you the horse accessible way to get up there. And this is the main way up the mountain. I've seen me use it. That's another nice house, very nice house. If you go very governor's residence. This gets us into this nice area here. So we're back with resources. That should hopefully last us throughout our process of constructing the rest of this building. So we are similarly short on these and these. And you gotta make it align up. The door will be here actually. I built this in the past, actually not that distant past, but reasonably distant past, when I used to have snow accumulation still on, so that's why it looks snowy. But we're gonna cover it up, so it's gonna be fine. Oh man, I love this floor pattern. So we gotta let the magic happen, just like we've let the magic happen to these two parts of the building. And I'm gonna put a time lapse where the magic will happen, and I will see you when this building is done, and then we will do the garden together. time lapse that I had to put on 8 times the speed, a lot has happened. Okay, let me explain. So I was trying to recolor the pillars black because this would provide better contrast from a distance. I haven't completed this because I did all of this in a very distracted state of mind. So let us complete this together while I follow you up on what happened. So I wanted to make the main building nice and tall because... Where did my stone cutter go? Oh, here it is. Great. So I was saying that it would look more impressive if it is tall. And let me just check. Okay, these are actually completed. Like, I was very absent-minded when I was checking. These are not complete. So let's get cutting. And I was trying to balance the color out so it's neither too light nor too dark, which is effectively a game of color Tetris because you don't know if it's good to go or not. But hey, that looks a lot better and it actually gives a good vibe. Okay, I think we need more. So I'm really excited to get this build done because it's a cool build, and I've also got some gardening materials ready to start the gardening process. For the gardening, which I will give you a brief intro while I am... Nope, that's the wrong one. While I am replacing the pillars, there will be 2 gardens that we will be doing. There will be the central garden, which is in between the 3 buildings. And then there will be... That's done. And there will be the front garden, which is next to the watchtower. So the central garden is here, and conveniently most of it's already dirt, but I brought some more dirt just in case. Okay, this is all dirt. Okay, that's good. There's a bit of snow, so let's clear this out together, shall we? And I'm really excited for this because I also brought some lilac, which is the symbolic flower of Lithos, simply because of how well it mixes with azalea. For that simple reason. There's no like very fancy reason, it's just because it mixes well with azalea. So now we're gonna dig a few holes and hope that grass grows, because I want to bone meal the grass to get some conveniently placed natural grass. I'm just digging a few holes and plopping in some grass. I usually do diagonals, but that's just my choice. So that is pretty much already treated and ready to go. So let's do this bit. So we have a nice courtyard. Actually, I want to do a custom tree as well, because a tree gives a good vibe. As simple as that. The threshold. Let's not mess with the threshold for now, shall we? So that's it grassified. I would have to also replace this pot with tuft. I'd also say tuft because of the university is called Tufts. So with tuff, the toughest block, as Cameron 18 rightly says, tuff. So many snow layers, oh my gosh. Just trying to get these out of the way of annoyance. I usually just use a non-silk touch pick, shovel and just turn it into snowballs. And fun fact, I realized you can fast craft like this, which is really nice. So that's all cleaned up. Now we got the front garden, which is this one. And all of this needs to get changed into more dirt. Actually, let's do the path first because I am always distracted with stuff. Fortunately, there's a way to get up, which is here, but still annoying nonetheless. My inventory is having an overflow issue. Let's move these into the whatever I'll mind the business later stack and get some tuff and get some of the stairs as well, because the garden is a bit lower in altitude than the rest. So that will slope down, and then let me just silk touch the cacti. I am in the distant horizons of hoping to do like a blue eyes themed, ice themed castle. But that's like really distant into my horizons per se. So that probably won't happen for, I don't know, a dozen more episodes. But I will tell you when that does happen. In fact, I changed my mind. I don't feel like a tree here fits because of how small this area is. And I also decided to just change this into grass because it's a stables. Like, the horse will probably like some grass, I would think. At least to my understanding, that's how it works. Floating buildings aren't a good idea for a generally realistic world saying. So instead of creating a full-blown tree, because accessibility is a must, I'm thinking about creating like a kind of like a flower sculpture. So let's find the center and go with the raised grass, and let's get our lilacs involved. So it's really small, it's really portable. So we got some layering. Ow. So easy to trip. Some layering, and then we can use our bone meal, which is again in the shulker boxes, in my shulker monster, as they say. Snack time. It's my first time doing vegetation like this, to be fair. And then where's my shears? Got the shear the inconveniently placed ones. Once again, accessibility is a must. So that would be our small custom flower bench, whatever you call it. And instead of doing an actual fence, as well as have like barrier going around here, this will show that all the vegetation is actually in fact clearly, carefully trimmed. I'm actually not a big fan of the grass here because it's so narrow. So it's like a very rich feeling garden, and I'm happy for this. Now all of this ice has to go. And let's switch it. It's almost nighttime and I don't have a bed. I have to fly down there to get my bed issue sorted. Sky tour of Lithos time. If you're curious where my bed went, it's because I am multitasking yet again, and I am doing the magical forest, and then I was mindless enough to not get my bed back. And we said we need to restock on grass, so that is very needed. So that should be reasonably enough grass to get us through. Lithos is so fun. Like, I'm saying this in an I mean it way. It's like so fun. There's like so much cool stuff to do. I mean, even though it's monochrome-ish, but there's still so much fun things to do that make it completely worth it. Can manually place some flowers. And now we have to do this small garden here. First, I have to deal with my overflowing inventory because that is always an issue. Now let's get the ice removed. Because here's the thing, Lithians love gardens. So the more gardens, the merrier. That's how I say it. And it won't hurt for the gardens to have a bit of a terrace. So all of this is gonna be within our gardening range happily. I have so much grass lying around, might as well use it. I will probably do a foundation for this later. So let me fill this whole thing in. Please comment if this is the fastest way to do. I can reload my shaders. Yes, I did. This is the fastest way to make grass spread because I am genuinely curious. And then for this part, we're actually gonna raise it one block higher. Actually, we might as well raise this and raise this. So we have a little garden. Here, it might actually be a good idea to make a tree because we're in the middle of nowhere, which means probably I have to go another trip down there. But before we do so, let me make some neat foundations for the buildings. So I will be proceeding with diorite and deep slate. I'm gonna go over here being very careful not to fall off anything. Why is there basalt? Oh man. Why is there basalt? I want deep slate, deep slate, deep slate. Where is my deep slate? Oi. Okay, don't mess with me, please. This goes in replacement. So no suspended buildings. Everything should look nice and sturdy. And we can complete the bottom with some more diorite bricks. I really hope we have enough deep slate. We might or might not. So our buildings are happy and safe. Let me just go over there and have a quick check. Man, I love the flowers. To make sure that the buildings are secure. Hardcore. And so is they are not. So deep slate goes in. Snow and dirt gets out. That's emerald. This should make it look nice and sturdy. So we're happy with this, and I love lilacs. Get the rest of the environmental materials out of our inventory. Inventory management is a pain, and what better place than this to plant some grass, because this is actually the windows area instead of the door, so some grass won't hurt. Now all of this has to get changed into a garden. You might realize my mic sounds different, and that's because my previous mic broke. Everybody comment RIP old mic, but this is me using my computer mic to narrate this. I'm not gonna narrate the whole thing because it's very long, so I'm just playing it at 2x speed, and you get to listen to some of my music.